Hello my friends, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video, which for me was a very highly anticipated video because I look forward to these sets every year. We got a lot to talk about though, guys, because we're gonna discuss the Too Faced Christmas in London set from Ulta. We're gonna play with this on my face, on my eyes. We're gonna talk a whole lot of talk. We're gonna do swatches on my skin tone as well as a deeper skin tone. There's a lot to go over. So if you're interested in seeing how this product worked for me and if it might be right for you, then just keep on watching. Let's go into the details really quick. So it comes in, I have to say, the packaging is absolutely beautiful, and we all know Too Faced does it every single year with their packaging. They just go, I feel like somebody is awesome with their marketing and the thought put into this. And this has to be probably one of my favorites ever, honestly. So it's Christmas in London. It is beautiful artwork. It's just so pretty. It's got like London and then it's got Santa and his sleigh. There's just, the aesthetic is perfect. It is $45 and it does come with 20 eyeshadows, 4 blushes, and a mini Too Faced mascara. I feel like they do that all the time. The back looks like this. For reference, it is made in the USA, and I love the little quote on the back. It says, "May the miracle of Christmas fill your hearts with joy and your homes with love." And so that truly warmed my heart. I don't remember seeing that before. It's supposed to smell like English toffee, but we'll get into that here in a bit. So that's that. I'm not even going to pull out the mascara, you guys. You guys know which one it is. It's the one they include practically every single year. Let's get into the palette because this packaging, again, is everything. There is so much detail on this, and quite frankly, the main reason I picked it up was for the packaging. I know, because we're going to get into the color story here in a bit. But I just have to point out certain details. It has a taxi down here. There's a chimney sweep on the roof. If you grew up with Mary Poppins, I don't need to say anymore. I already told you it has Santa and his sleigh. It's got like these apartment buildings with people that you can see through the window. You can see the Christmas tree. The aesthetic of this, it's like raised, all of the design, like it's got this raised feel. It's beautiful and it feels like paper. I don't know how to describe it to you. This is truly my favorite packaging they have ever come out with. It's just, oh, it's lovely. Okay, let's talk about the inside. The back just says Christmas in London. It does fold all the way back. And you have that same cover on the inside as well. There is no mirror, but you know these to not have a mirror. Here's what it looks like on the inside, you guys. There are 20 eyeshadows and 4 blushes. I do have to say that I feel like the blushes are a little bit more inclusive because you do get like a bright pop, but you also get like a deeper shade. I had to go super light hand on that. So we're gonna go into swatches because here's the thing, y'all. This color story looks exactly, typically I find 3 or 4 little differences. And for me, that's enough. I'm like, this is perfect. It's got a little extra. I know it's a lot of the same, but there's 3 or 4 differences. And I'm just gonna tell you this, I feel like all the thought went into the packaging because this looks exactly the same as every single year, which again, I know is typically the same, but I can find little differences. I'm not really finding much. So let's go into swatches because there are some of you who may really be interested in this palette and you're wondering if some of these are gonna work on your skin tone. So let me grab those. We'll talk about swatches and then we'll go from there. Row number 1, Crimbo vibes, Christmas Queen, Figgy Pudding, Tea at the Ritz. I feel like Figgy Pudding is one that you see every single year. I mean, not like the rest are not, but I'm just saying it stands out to me as being one of the ones I always see, but that's that row right there. Let me grab row number 2. So here we've got You Can't Hide, Tower of Lovin', Savile Beau, Butter My Biscuits. And I feel like Savile Beau, isn't that a reference on the movie Annie? I don't remember. Anyways, I don't even know what that is, so I'm sorry. And you can see the swatches are, well, you know, leave a little something, something to be desired, even though you can't tell a story with swatches. So let me take this off and we'll move on to the next row. Here we've got Too Faced at Carnaby, Piccadilly Thrilly, Boxing Day, and Mulled Wine. Here we've got Abby Snowed Baking in the Tent, which I don't know exactly what that means. I can be a little naive in a lot of things, but I feel like there's a double thing there going on. I don't know. Maybe it's just all in my head. Press for Champagne, and then Father Christmas, which is my favorite shade out of the palette and is the one I'm wearing on my eyelids, but we'll go through that here in a bit. Here we've got Christmas in the Cotswold. I'm sorry, I don't know what that means either. London Actually, Last Christmas, and this one, here's the thing. You know, Richard, the nickname for Richard, is very common in London, but I'm still, anyways, I'm not going to say the last, I'm not going to say the last name of the shadow, just in case there's a double meaning there. I don't know, but I like to keep it super GPG here on this channel, so just saying. So there is that. I know a couple of y'all had messaged me saying that you weren't a fan of the names this year, and I mean, the thing about it is, typically they'd be very innocent because, again, that is a common name, you know? It's just, we live in a society where things mean other things these days. So anyways, okay, so let me grab the blushes because we've gone through all of the shadows here. There are 3 mattes and there is one more glowy type of blush, which not everybody is a fan of. I do like that type of finish, but here are what the 4 blushes look like. The People's Princess, oh, Pretty and Punk, okay, Carnaby Sweet, and Spice Girl, of which Spice Girl is what I am wearing today with a very incredibly light hand. So definitely a wide range in the blush area, which is wonderful, of course. So that's what we've got going on right there. Okay, now it's time to put this on my face together, on my eyes, so that you can see how these work for me, so that you can see how I use them, that kind of thing. Again, I'm using my favorite shade on the lid today. So yeah, we're just gonna have some fun, put this on our eyes, on our face, so that way you can see, and then we'll talk final thoughts after that.
Starting off with a very dense Morphe blending brush, I'm starting with the shade Baking in the Tent, and there is a significant amount of fallout that is in this palette. I mean, I'm not even an aggressive, you know, I don't grab my shadows in an aggressive manner, and even then, the powder was very excessive. So I'm very strategically placing this in my crease. I'm kind of trying to pat it down as best I can without buffing too much, just because I want it to be pretty intense and pretty pigmented. Also taking it past my crease and onto the outer portion of my lid. And of course I did layer this a couple of times because I was really wanting to build up the pigmentation. So now just with a clean blending brush, just kind of now starting to diffuse that out so that it didn't look so harsh, just kind of, you know, softening the edges, which it did. The only thing is if you blend too much with this, with these mattes, then they kind of dissipate into, they get very, very light. So just keep that in mind. Going into the shade Piccadilly Thrilly with that exact same brush and just placing this over top of where I just blended, just so that there's a little bit of a mix. There's a little bit of the pink peeking through. There's a tongue twister for you. Just kind of, like I said, at the top of that, blending it upwards just so that you see the brown and then you see it kind of just blend into that pink. So I grabbed the same shade as before, Baking in the Tent, with the same brush I was using, just kind of placing back down some of what I lost. Again, I really want the rich brown to show through because this is going to be the deepest shade in the look. Now I'm going in with my ever so trusty Fenty Pro Filter eye primer and placing this down on my lid, where I am going to place down the metallic shade, just kind of blending it out, smoothing it out over the lid. If you are new, this is what I use as a tacky base for all my foiled and metallic shades. Now going into the shade Father Christmas using my finger. This is the most beautiful shade out of the palette. It's, in my opinion, also the one that works the best. It just is very opaque. It's got a ton of just beautiful sparkle, twinkle twinkle, whatever you want to call it, and it's very, very metallic. It's the winner in this palette, quite frankly. Now moving back into that Father Christmas shade, but with a brush this time, I'm grabbing some to place down in the little area that I can't reach with my finger. I will say about this shade that it does pick up very well with a brush, so I did find that I was getting the same effect using a brush as I was my finger, which typically is not the case, but with this shade it really did work out well. So going back into the shade Baking in the Tent, and I'm just placing this on the outer portion of the lid where I had placed it before, but again, where I may have lost a little bit of that, and I really just want it to show up and look deeper. So just added another layer of that to the outer portion of the lid. Now with a different little stumpy brush, it's like a smudger brush, I am taking that exact same shade and I'm just running this on the lower lash line just to tie it all together. Again, this is the deepest shade that I'm going to use in this look, so I am just kind of using it to smudge and deepen out the entire look, and it just ties everything together very well. So now going in with the shade Boxing Day on a small detailer brush. This one actually also picks up very nicely on a brush, and I'm just placing this as my inner corner highlight. Now, I wish it was a little bit lighter for the inner corner, but as an individual shadow on its own, it's actually a very nice shade. So pulls it all together there. So now let's go into blush. We're going to use the shade Spice Girls, and it is just as powdery as the eyeshadows. If you grew up in the 90s, then you would really appreciate the name of the blush. I know I do. Just going to tap off quite a bit, but the thing about it is it didn't tap off. So what you saw me do is just tap it on the back of my hand because of my skin tone. I knew this was going to go in really intense. So it actually went on very nicely. Yes, it did go on a little bit intense after I had already, kind of removed some on the back of my hand, but with just a little bit of blending, it ended up looking like a beautiful flush to the cheeks. So if you do share my same skin tone, then you can make this work. All blushes are absolutely lovely, quite frankly, and some of my favorites from a holiday release by Too Faced. And just like that, we've finished our look. We've finished the eyes and then added a little bit to the cheeks. And this is the final product. I hope you enjoyed and found it somewhat helpful. And even though we're not there yet, Merry Christmas.
Alrighty, my friends, it's time to talk final thoughts about this bad boy here. You saw how everything went on, so hopefully that helps you in one way or another. But keeping in mind, I only used a handful of shades, and so, and I used my favorite one in there, so keep that in mind too. But I'm not going to spend too much time on the packaging because I've already told you how much I love this packaging. Again, my favorite. Yes, so moving on. Let's talk about the inside. Let's go over the blushes first. I think the blushes are actually really nice. A lot of people don't like the face products that are included in Too Faced holiday sets. I think this one is actually really good for once. I think that, not for once, because I've actually enjoyed previous years, but I do think that as far as blushes go, this is probably one of the best, it's the best quality they've had as far as blushes. And I do like the diversity in blush shades. You've got a little bit of light, you've got a little bit of medium/deep. And if you are of a light, medium skin tone, then, take a light hand to those deeper blushes and they're actually really, really lovely. So at this point, I blended it out quite a bit, you saw, and I was able to give it packs a little bit more of a flush punch. But again, I went super light hand. I tapped the brush on my hand before going onto my face, just because I knew it could go south real quick. So it's actually very, very lovely. I do like it very, very much. So That's the deal on the blushes. Let's talk about the eyeshadows, which is pretty much the main reason everybody would be looking at this particular palette. Let's be real, you're not gonna buy this palette for the blushes. So we already talked color story. This was very disappointing to me as far as color story. As soon as even the promo pics, I was like, and the more time that went on with the store not receiving it, the more I was losing interest. So there's something about the tip of the iceberg with holiday releases, and you're like, ooh, I want to get it all. And then as time goes on, when it's not released, you're like, do I really need it? So when this arrived at my Ulta a couple of days ago, I was like, I don't even know if I want to buy it. So I said, let me go in store. I went in store and I saw the tester and I was like, I am so underwhelmed right now. This looks, if I were to pull, which I'm not going to go into comparisons and all that, really, I'm just doing a standalone review on this. But if I were to pull last year, previous year, whatever, I mean, literally, I don't feel like any thought went into the inside of this palette for color story as far as eyeshadows go. I feel like they just said, let's put all the effort into the cover and slap last year or the year before's in there and people will buy it. I don't know. Color story is highly disappointing to me. There is literally nothing super exciting. Even last year, there was a little bit more excitement. So that being said, the mattes, wow, there's a lot of kick up in these mattes. What is the deal? I go in with a very light hand. Y'all know I'm not aggressive when I dig for my eyeshadows. I kind of tap in there, and there is so much kick up. Oof. So that's one thing you might have to deal with, but for me, that's not a deal breaker. It's just, it is very excessive, but it is what it is. Talking about the metallic type shades. Okay, let me take a step back. One other thing about the mattes that I just remembered is that if you blend too much, they will dissipate to almost nothing. Like you literally have to lay it down and almost kind of leave it there because it will blend away to almost nothing. And they feel very thin when you swatch them. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But going into the standout shades, shades like the satin type shades, like this green one, I mean, an hour in, and I'm talking with eye primer, an hour in, and it looks so dull. It looks very boring. It looks like, what did I put on my eye? I don't even remember. So the reason I tell you that this Father Christmas is my favorite is because it's the one that packs most punch. It does have quite a bit of opacity. It's got a little bit of a twinkle, and it's got a very metallic finish. It's the one that is the most metallic out of this palette. So I'm just going to be upfront and tell you that of all of these shades, this one is the only one that I see myself pulling this palette out for. It's kind of disappointing. So the rest of them are just kind of lackluster. There's a couple that are okay. Like Boxing Day is okay. And then there's another one that I actually, this one, Too Faced at Carnaby. This one's all right as well. These two have a little bit of just a special kind of twinkle to them. But again, they've been done before by Too Faced many, many times. So that being said, this just overall, disappointment. Literally, if I keep this palette, which I don't even know if I'm going to, it would be for the cover. I'm so sad that my most favorite cover out of all of the holiday releases Too Faced has ever done comes with a very incredibly disappointing inside. I don't know that I would pull this palette out ever again to use it aside from today. And then of course I used it for a couple of days to test it out, but very disappointing, y'all. Use your $45 elsewhere, quite frankly. Unless you're just a collector, you have to have it, or you love the cover and you want it for that. But you guys, this, one of the most disappointing holiday releases I have ever come across. Ever. Not only this year, ever. And I'm very sad to tell you that. I was hoping to have very different experience from the expectations I had, but literally my experience matched my expectations. Disappointing, but it is what it is. Okay, dear friends, well, that brings us to the end of this video. Again, I was hoping for a little bit of a different outcome with this video, but is what it is. Let's move into a quick verse of the day to motivate you, encourage you, and tell you that Jesus loves you. So today's comes from 2 Peter 3:10, and it says, "The day of the Lord will come like a thief." I referenced this verse. I picked this verse for you today because I just want to let you know that Jesus is coming very, very soon. And just like that verse said, he's coming like a thief in the night when you don't expect him. So we always just want to be watching for him, be ready for him, and with that, have him in our hearts, have a relationship with him. And if you don't already know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, it is my prayer that you would feel an overwhelming peace and love that you've never felt before. It is a peace and love that no human being can give, and it is absolutely wonderful. A relationship with him is the best thing that has ever happened to me. I really cannot even imagine life without him. Walking with him is just so wonderful, and I just want to share that good news with you. That invitation that if you don't already know him, if you don't already have that beautiful relationship with him, that you would start today. Don't waste another minute. Alrighty, my friends, I love you guys so very much, but Jesus loves you very much more. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe and stay well. I will talk to you soon. Bye.